Wow. So will Congress ever find enough common ground to pass something concrete when it comes to immigration? Joining us now, a man was once in a gang. The Gang of Eight, to help solve immigration, and he took a lot of heat for it on the through the Republican primaries. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. Senator, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, guys.
So, Senator, I heard when he was addressing the Sunday show anchors and other news anchors in the preview of the speech, he talked about the president comprehensive immigration reform. He didn't say that so much last night. Yeah. Is it indeed possible? Has anything changed?
Well, first of all, the presidency has changed, and I think that makes it easier, not easy, but easier to do this the right way. And let's back up for a second. This term comprehensive, it makes it sound like we're going to do it all at once. I don't think that's the right approach. I've shared that with the president. I think the right approach is, number one, you have to enforce your laws. If you're not enforcing the laws you have now, why are people to believe you're going to enforce the laws you may have in the future? So that's number one. Number two, and he talked about this last night, you have to modernize the immigration system. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a merit-based system. Our economy has changed. And the criteria we use for deciding who gets to come in and stay in the United States has to change. That's modernization. That would be step two. And then you can do something very reasonable with the people who have been here a long time, who are not gangbangers, who are not criminals, who are not a threat to public safety. It has to happen in that order and in those steps. And I believe if Democrats are willing to accept that direction, then we can get something done. And if they continue to fight for the unrealistic, let's give everybody blanket amnesty, or let's give everybody citizenship, or let's do it backwards, or let's be against any effort to enforce the law beyond symbolic things, then I think we're going to continue to be stuck in the cycle we've been in. So I'm hopeful, but it's going to be difficult, but it is possible.
How is it possible? Because they weren't even standing up when they're honoring the Navy SEAL who fought for our country, and they're booing anytime he even talked about starting an office under Homeland Security to help the victims of people who have lost loved ones because of illegal immigrants. So how are Democrats and Republicans going to work together to fix this?
And I don't mean this about everybody. I'm sure there were a few standing and clapping, and they clapped earlier, but it was a stunning moment when we were standing up in that minute-and-a-half ovation for the widow of that Navy SEAL. I turned back around my shoulder and I see half the room, most of them sitting down. I was just shocked by that. I noticed as soon as the speech was done, they got up and walked out. So look, they have a right to do all that, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, last night's speech was presidential, and I don't think anyone can dispute that. You don't have to agree with everything. I certainly have sat through 8 of those or 6 of those under President Obama and didn't agree with every one of them. But last night was a presidential speech. It was truly presidential, and I really think it was the most important moment yet of this young presidency.
Well, for a former rival to say that, Senator, we both know there are wobbly Republicans up on Capitol Hill who until last night were like, I'm not so sure. Last night probably gave them hope because that address was a knockout, according to people on both sides of the aisle.
Right. So there's policy differences. Look, the Republican Party is a diverse party, and I think the president would acknowledge that there is diversity within his own cabinet, within his own administration. That's fine. Having differences of opinion on issues is fine. That's different from saying, do we want to make sure that he's successful? There are people out there that literally want to nullify the election. Their notion is we lost the election, so now let's make it impossible for him to be president. That's bad for America. That's wrong. That's not what we should be doing. And look, as I said, when I agree with the president, I want to help him. When I believe he's wrong, I'm going to try to encourage him to do the right thing. And if, we have a difference. That's why we have this process with votes. But to walk out and do some of those sorts of things, I don't agree with it. And but anyway, we're going to move forward. I'm excited that we're going to have a chance to get some good things done for America.
All right, so let's talk about, and by the way, an example of you backing up your words is you weren't thrilled with Rex Tillerson, but you said it would hurt the president too much not to have a Secretary of State that he really wants, and you backed off and said, let's see how it goes. But let's move on and talk about Obamacare. We've been fascinated and somewhat astounded by the diversity of thought with Obamacare when it comes to, on the Republican side, when it comes to reform. Jim Jordan goes, yeah, I side with Rand Paul. I'm not with the Paul Ryan plan. And we have others only with Paul Ryan. And John Boehner comes out and says, you guys can't even do it. In reality, Senator, you tell it like it is. Can this get done? Are you guys going to get together and get something done?
Yes, I believe we can. I believe we will. But this notion that because there's 5 different ideas about it, that's a sign of weakness is ridiculous. Should we all be marching like robots in lockstep, listening to whatever they mandate down our throat? Should we be voting for a law, then we'll find out what's in it after we pass it, the way the Democrats did a few years ago? It's a good thing that there are a lot of different ideas. That means a lot of people are thinking about it. That's how you come up with good public policy. And somehow nowadays, having different ideas and bringing them together and trying to figure out the right way forward is a sign of weakness. That's ridiculous. ridiculous. So
But
yes,
now,
we're going to get there, but we're going to do it the right way.
So the longest time, the legislative branch was complaining the executives have too much power. Now this president's saying, hey, legislative branch, I'm going to give you some power. Draw it up, do something I could sign. And but yet do you need the president to put you guys in a room and you women in the room and get it done? Do you need the leadership?
Yeah, and the answer is ultimately at the end, yes. But I also think the president understands that the legislative process needs to work a little bit, and that's what's happening. We're not that far apart, by the way. The Republican ideas are basically built around the principles that the president talked about last night, which is, number one, allow Americans to be able to buy health insurance as cheaply as possible, the kind of health insurance that they want. Number two, we're going to help people that need help, whether it's through tax credit or they qualify for Medicaid through a program that's good for them. How we achieve that, there's some differences here or there, but we'll work through those. It is going to happen, but we're not going to do it the way the Democrats did, which is you pass this law and then you spend 5 years cleaning up the mess. We're going to do it once, we're going to do it right, and if it takes an extra week or two to get it right, the American people deserve that, but I am confident we will repeal and we will replace Obamacare.
Senator Rubio, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
All right, always great to see you.